Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sibyl, and I'm back again with my new adorable, absolutely freaking adorable little co-host, my pup, Willie. Welcome to the show, great girlfriends. Welcome to the show. So, a lot of you ask me, why is he named Willie, right? And I know you're like, well, Willie is such an unconventional name for a pup, and who names their kid or their pup or their plant Willie in 2020, rather. Well, Willie is actually my dad's nickname. And so our pup Willie was named after my dad. And it's sort of one of our ways of keeping my dad's spirit and his name around and his energy around. And I got to tell you that Willie, our little pitador or Labrabull, whichever internet nickname you want to give him, is really, 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 really sweet and fun like my dad. So Willie is named after my father, the amazing Lester Clark Jr., who was affectionately called Willie by his siblings. So there you go. Now that you know, welcome my little co-host. So if you hear any barking or if you hear any purring or, because puppies do purr, and you hear any of that extra in the background, please do give Willie a little bit of patience and grace, and give me some too, because I didn't want to leave him outside the room and hear his scratching or barking. So I figured I'd let him join me. And he makes a great co-host, actually. He adds a little bit of an effect to the show. Speaking of effect to the show, I want to thank all of you for your beautiful feedback on last week's episode, 3 things I will no longer spend my time on in 2021 or today. That episode was birthed out of things I wanted you to go into 2021 with. I always think about the end of the year and what it means for people. A lot of people see a new year as a new beginning, a new opportunity. A lot of times you want to birth new things and you want to leave other things behind. And so this next series of episodes is dedicated to really helping you to declutter and clear the way and reset to power up your 2021 with the best intention by putting your highest potential, your best self out there. So that's what this is all about. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm actually going through my bad habits. I jot them down. I'm like, girl, you need to put that Coke down. Girl, you don't need to eat after 8 p.m. Girl, you need to make sure you work out every day. Girl, you do not need to eat those cookies all the time, right? So, because in all honesty, in 2020, I did pick up some emotional habits, going through grief of losing my father. I picked up a habit of emotional eating is my thing. A lot of people don't eat. I just do emotional eating. So I start eating up all the stuff that I have no business even touching. But I picked up a lot of those things and I need to get rid of them. And so I'm starting to reset. And in fact, I'm doing a cleanse. So y'all pray for me. I'm doing a 3-day cleanse. Raw Generation is the product that I'm using, and I'm excited about it because I know that it's going to help me to get more energy, more clarity, and a lot of, resetting that I need in my body. So for most of us, me particularly, I carried a lot of the grief and a lot of the stress in my body, and I started to see it manifest in some of the ways that I was sleeping and just kind of sluggish and just low energy and demotivated. And that's really, really not who I am. So I had to kind of tackle it, not even kind of tackle it, then knock that bad boy out, because I wanted to make sure I could, recognize myself and be proud of myself, and definitely gave myself grace and space to go through the grief process, but still not wanting to burden my body with bad habits. So I really had to do my own intervention, make sure that I can be there for myself in case no one else ever told me to put the cookie down. Could I say to myself, Sibyl, put that cookie down, girl. So I'm building that muscle right now. Speaking of muscle, I want to thank you. I thank you every single week, all 20,000+ of you, for muscling and powering this show. The beginnings and the birth of this show were to give women something that they could hold on to, something that would help them to see themselves in the best ways, to unlock opportunity, unlock, self-development, personal development, and growth, and accountability, and friendship, virtual friendship. And so it's been my pleasure to continue to propel the Great Girlfriends forward, going into year 6 of this podcast. My goodness, never would have thought it would have gone this long, and I'm so grateful that it has. And so, having said that, those reviews, I told you last week, and I probably have said it every week. I don't know. I feel like I say it all the time, but we love to hear your reviews, love to hear from you. Our brand partners even want to know, how are the shows doing? Are the women enjoying these shows? And, what do great girlfriends really want to hear? And so I want to know personally, do me a favor, head over to iTunes, leave their review, leave your comments, leave your rating. Right now we have a 5-star rating. We want to continue that. We also want to hear your voice and your perspective around the show. So here's a review, one that I love from the archives, and just not forcing you, but just giving you an example of one that is like the one. This one says, excellent podcast that's full of honesty. Have you ever wanted to get an honest, objective point of view on issues like womanhood, motherhood, spirituality, careers, and everything in between? This is the podcast for you. I have so enjoyed the positive and helpful messages that the great girlfriends bring. Thank you, Coco Brown One. This message, I hold that one and I anchor it and I use it as a reminder for why the show is important, why we have to continue to propel the show and the community forward. So, speaking of community, the current question in the Great Girlfriend community on Facebook that's happening right now is, should Sibyl get a Peloton bike? I'm really, really considering joining the Peloton community. I don't want to buy a bike that becomes a hanger. I want to actually use the bike, and I think I would, but I was asking the great girlfriends, what do you think of the Peloton bike? Is it the one for you? Should I get one? Do you think it'd be good for me? And thus far, everyone's saying yes, go for the Peloton bike. You will love the bike. You'll love the workouts and all of the different the community boards, etc. So I want to know that from you as well. If you think I should get a Peloton, shoot us a message over at welcome@thegreatgirlfriends.com and just let me know your thoughts on the bike and whether or not I should personally get myself one as a Christmas gift. Okay? All right. So now that you've gotten into my personal life and you know what's going on with me, and you know what's happening in the Facebook group, and what's on my mind, what's my next big purchase, I wanted to get into your morning routine. So my morning routine sucked for like the past 3 months. And the reason why is because I didn't do the things that I knew to do. Sometimes you know what to do, but you just don't do it. It's not about ignorance. It's really about, committing. Really being committed and really taking the steps and making the best intention out of every moment. So that was me. I was non-committal. I was really low. I felt depressed. I felt demotivated. And, quite frankly, I didn't want to do any of the stuff that I knew would make my day special, would kickstart my mornings, would make me feel motivated and inspired. Grief was hard, and I kind of sat with it for a while. But I want to put it into it. And in fact, I've deaded so many of those nasty habits that I picked up over the past few months. And I'm bringing you all along for the journey as I continue to power my mornings differently. I want to give y'all these 3 tips or 3 combos that you want to have early in the morning. And I say early in the morning because, you have to start your day with power. And we say this all the time, we hear this all the time, but great girlfriends, you know the difference in the days when you start your day out weak, when you start your day out with sugar, when you start your day out moaning and groaning, how those days just sort of trickle and fall apart, or even you find yourself having to reset in the middle of the day because it's just a nasty day, right? And then the days that you really put some good intention behind what the day would be about, what was possible, how you would show up, right? And so, we're not in control of any of the variables that we face every day. None of us can control the variables. The wind can blow one way. It can be a hurricane, right? Your kid can vomit. It could be fevers. You can lose your job and, there could be a pandemic. All these different things, racial injustice, political drama, mayhem. Those things are variables that are out of our control. But speaking of the control, which is you, which is the habits that we cultivate, which is the momentum that we create, the accountability, the stewardship. When we look at our stewardship, those are controls that we can put in place. Those are the controls that we can help use when we need to reset, when variables seem overwhelming and insurmountable, and we need to kind of turn the tables and bring ourselves back to a center. Those controls are the things that help to power who we are, our character, and fuel our identity and make us a force that's unstoppable. Because remember that some of the variables, they will try to stop you in your tracks. And in fact, you will feel halted, right? You will feel knocked to your knees. But then When you have good controls in place, when you have those character sets that allow you to propel yourself forward, you can stop for sure, but you can press play at the right moment and trigger yourself right back into motion. So as you trigger yourself, early in the morning is the best time to trigger your day. It's the best time to power your day. And the conversations that you have are the most important part. Now, we think about the conversations you have in your head. You know, some of those conversations are truly, truly healthy, powering, inspiring, igniting conversations. And some of those other conversations are those nasty, knock you down, doubt conversations, those saboteurs, those conversations, those voices that are delaying voices that drag you down and beat you up. We don't want to deal with those voices. We can counter those voices if we power ourselves effectively with these 3 essential combos that you need to have early in the morning. So before I jump into these 3 combos, these 3 who you need to talk to and why, I want you to grab your pen and paper and put it to the side real quick because you're going to write down, or you can write the topic down if you want at the top. Do me a favor, tag another great girlfriend, tell her to jump onto this podcast. And I want to, before I get into this, I want to make sure I salute my brand of the week. So I'm saluting Susie Black NYC. Susie Black NYC is powered by Deandra Julian. And I love this lingerie collection because it is 100% locally sourced and ethically manufactured on a reduced production schedule right in the heart of the New York Garment District. I love, love, love the beautifully fierce collection that has become daily wear. And that's what Susie Black is all about. For more information on this beautiful collection of daily wear lingerie, visit www.susieblacknyc.com. In the spirit of Kevin Hart, all right. Let's get into these 3 essential combos that you and I and we should have in the AM. I'm going to start with number 1, the first conversation that you want to have when you jump out of bed, when you put your eyes to the air is with God or your higher power. I call it God because that is who I devote my time, energy, and life to. So I'm going to say that's the first conversation I have in the morning. I wake up, start my day, open my eyes with a thank you for waking me up this morning. That's the very first conversation before I even roll over and say good morning to Kwaku. I start there. I start there because I want to always stay plugged into the source. Staying plugged into the source allows me to continually get the downloads, get the wisdom, get the direction, get the peace, the comfort, the joy, the clarity that I need to move through my day with ease. So when I start my day with conversations with God, I start out with that thank you, and then I start with the 5 minutes of just conversation. I'm so grateful to be alive. What are your plans for me today? I'm so happy to be a vessel. Or I need you to really, really power me today. I'm feeling weak this morning. Whatever it is, I start with that conversation and that expression of acknowledgement saying, hey, source. Here it is. I'm a resource plugging in to get refueled, to get powered, to get that surge or that charge of energy that I need to move and navigate through my day. That is conversation number 1. On the days that I haven't had that conversation first, I always find myself running back to that conversation. It's almost like I left my keys and I'm going to crank the car. If you have a new car or an old car, you can't crank without that key in the car. You can't crank without having that car, that key trigger the car to start running. Likewise, I always feel like I'm missing that cranking. On those days that I haven't had that conversation or I haven't done that plug-in and I haven't taken that time to meditate for just a few minutes to really get my heart, my mind aligned, I feel cluttered. I feel confused. I feel, shuffled, frazzled. And I always find myself running back, even if it's a quiet corner, a closet, or a 5-minute pause, or just a turnaround, a quiet moment to just stop and bring things back to the center. So always having that center place, again, that's got to be a control that we have in place. You've got to have these controls in place so when everything else around you is shifting, that one thing that you do or that you can call on is steady. For me, that's having that first conversation with God. Or if you have another reference for your higher power, but for me, I always call on God and I say, thank you, Lord, for waking me up. I thank you for this day. Thank you for allowing me breath. Thank you for giving me life. Thank you for allowing me to be a vessel. Or if I'm agitated, if I'm grieving, Lord, I'm grieving today. I need you to fill me with the right spirit. I need you to fill my mind and create an ease for me. I need to feel your power. I need to be centered by you. I need to be charged by you. Those conversations. And I don't move from that spot until I feel like, okay, I got it. I got my wattage. I'm ready. The car is ready to crank. Let's do this. Let's go, baby. All right. So I have that first one. Then the second conversation, before you go run into anybody else, have a good conversation with yourself. You know, we oftentimes, when we think about people talking to themselves, we imagine the person who has a disheveled mental state, who's on the street, who's, talking to themselves, who's kind of frazzled in the mind, who is disoriented, who may have mental instability, who has not found their footing. We picture that kind of conversation. What I'm talking about is having a hey girl, a kind moment with yourself, a moment that allows you to be like, hey girl, hey beautiful, you ready for the day? You ready to do this? Because it's time. You got a big day, girl. You know it's some things set aside for you today. It's time for you to get up off that pillow and get your feet moving, right? Well, the world is waiting on you, girl. What you bringing to the day? Something affirming and kind and sensitive and assuring that powers you, that reminds you, that's reinforcing conversation number one, right? These are controls that you can always have in place. So when somebody talk crazy to you during the day, when somebody else don't know who you are and they start tripping on you, or when you feel like you are not on your right footing, you can always turn to that conversation and say, girl, get back on your 2 feet. Girl, get up. I know that thing knocked you down, but you don't have to stay down. Those are the reminders of the reinforcements that you can use to reset whenever you need to. Remember, we don't control the variables, but we can guide the controls, and we hold those in our hands. Conversation with God or your higher power. Number 2 is conversation with yourself. That powering conversation. That conversation that is sensitive to who you are, that is kind to who you are, that is curious. That's curious about who you are, because we don't know everything about ourselves, right? We're still becoming. So isn't it safe to say in our becoming that oftentimes we'll need to ask ourselves questions? Hey girl, how you want to show up today? What color lipstick you want to wear today? What color are you feeling today? What's your vibe today? Isn't it okay for us to do that, to be curious and to have those conversations with self? But it's important that we open the door to that being permissible in our routine. Don't wake yourself up with those nasty conversations. So, girl, you know you didn't do what you did yesterday. Girl, you know you got all this waiting on. You got ABC 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, XYZ. Girl, you know your inbox is full. Girl, it's raining outside. Girl, your hair's so dirty. Don't wake yourself up with that garbage. Who wants to hear any of that stuff? Who wants to hear that? Name one great girlfriend who wants to hear that stuff first thing in the morning. I don't know her. And if I do know her, I'm probably going to need to have a conversation with her after this podcast. But don't let that be you. Because guess what you're doing when you do that? You're knocking yourself at the knees. You're not giving yourself the right fuel you need to get your body and your mind in forward motion. So you're creating a disadvantage for yourself. And when those variables come, because they do come, great girlfriend, not every day do they come as heavy as others, but they come. When those variables come, all they're going to do is reaffirm that nasty conversation, right? Because it's like, yep, I knew that was going to happen. See, that proves that thing that I spoke to myself first thing in the morning. But if you can give yourself that sensitive, kind, loving, affirming conversation, you open the door to be able to defend yourself against things that try to dispel who you are. And so if you start out your day like that, that's 1 foot on the left, 1 foot on the right. That's getting you into gear. That's putting you in motion. And that's reminding you that all the other stuff is a contradiction. So you can effectively combat it because you've already prepared yourself mentally. And you've given your heart and your spirit the opportunity to speak aloud as well. That's so empowering. All right. You got those 2 great girlfriends? I hope you do. And I hope some of you are saying, yep, I already do that. If you already do that, girl, high five, pound, pound, whoop-de-whoop, because you, my friend, are in the right position. But if you're not already doing that, then great. This is an invitation for you. This is an invitation for you to do something fresh and renewing and assuring. And I promise with my heart and soul, you will really, really reward yourself. All right, number 3, which is last but certainly not least, is have a conversation with a loved one that loves you back. Now, I say that loves you back because you love a lot of people, but they might not love you in return in the same way you love them. You want to have that third conversation, that third communication with someone who's a loved one that loves you back, that loves you in return, which is why I roll over and I'm so excited to greet Kwaku in the morning, because that conversation is with the loved one that I know loves me back and will not start my day out with nothing nasty. People who love you back want to give you something good to eat off of. People who love you back want to help fuel you. They want to help reaffirm who you are. They want to give you something powerful and meaningful, right? They have good intentions for you. They have positive words and rewarding words to offer to you in the time of need. So people that love you back, that's very important. They're going to be more conscious of what you need at that hour, and they're going to be sensitive to offering you that. And if they can't at that time, you want to put it on pause, but you want to have that communication, even if it's you texting someone, I love you, and you knowing you're going to get that I love you back. Or if it's writing a note that you're sending out to a friend with a beautiful quote that says, you are magnificent to me. And you know that when you send that out, you're going to get that back in friendship and connection. Or if it's a phone call that says, hey girl, I didn't call to talk long. I just called to tell you have a beautiful day. That is your third conversation. The reason why is because you want to make sure you're filling your cup, you're feeding your soul, you're being ignited and powered by convos that soothe and serve your day. Those are the ones that are going to get you in the motion and the mood to go and handle whatever it is that you've been destined to conquer for the day. Those are going to reinforce what's in control, who's in control, and how to control. And when you face those situations that don't line up with that energy, you're able to stop and reset. You don't have to follow the energy. You can reset and recharge, and you can get that energy right. And the way you do that is by going back to these conversations. First with God or your higher power. Second is with yourself. Third is with loved ones that love you in return. The ones who can offer back to you the love that you need and you deserve and you desire when you need it. So if you can put those conversations at the top of your list as priority, these are going to be the ones that are going to help me have a rock star day. That's going to keep your energy, your perspective right where it needs to be. Now, don't get me wrong. Every day is not perfect. Again, we're not looking for perfect days, but we are looking for some controls that we can use when imperfect moments come our way and we know that we need to get ourselves back into a better state of mind. How you feel about that? I want to know how you feel. If it feels like it's too hard to do, I want to hear from you. Email us, welcome@thegreatgirlfriends.com, because I want to know how you can power your day with essential convos. These are the 3 that I'm going to be using, that I have used for years, that keep my joy box full, that keep my energy high, that keep my family really, really, really vivid and vibrant and happy and loving. And it keeps my environment sound. So I want to know, how you feel. I want you to practice this for a week. Be intentional about it. Set an alarm. And on your alarm, put these 3 as the top things that you need to do for the day. That should be about 5 to 10 minutes of your day. If longer, go for it. But not much, but just enough to get your mind and spirit in the right motion. And then I want to know, after you've done it, the 5-day challenge for yourself, I want to know how it feels to you. I want to know the difference. I can tell you, before I did this, I started my day angry, started doubtful, I started frustrated because I knew my inbox was waiting. I knew my babies were waiting. I knew everybody was hungry. I knew work was happening. I knew what was waiting on the other side of my day, and it would feel heavy. But when I started my day with these 3, everything felt lighter. My mind felt clear. I felt more empowered to navigate the day in strength and in power. So that's what I want for you, great girlfriends, plain and simple. Last but not least, share in the Great Girlfriends Facebook group. If this podcast has been helpful to you, I want you to share it in the Great Girlfriends Facebook group. I want you to go tell at least 5 great girlfriends to join this community and help power this message even more. Now, I've said all this to say, I love you. I hope that this week's message has been awesome for you, and I can't wait to share space with you next week. Peace. Great girlfriends, did you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast? If so, would you please give us your amazing review on iTunes? Every single review helps another great girlfriend get plugged into the podcast, into the community. Speaking of community, make sure you join our Facebook group, The Great Girlfriends. You follow us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends and on Twitter at @the_greatGFS. Last but not least, we'd like to thank my amazing husband, Kwaku, Sam and Dilly, and all of you for being a part of the global community that makes us so strong. Please remember to share with your friends, keep listening, and keep being a great girlfriend. I'm Sibyl, and I'm out. Peace.